All right. Hey guys. Today we'll be learning how to draw an eye, and I will be using a 2B pencil, a 4B, and a 6B. For those of you that don't know, the 2B, 4B, 6B, there are different types of hardness or softness. So 2B is much harder, so its lines are going to be a lot less harsher, and 6B is like a softer pencil, so its lines are going to be much darker. So I don't know if I had to explain that, but cool. Yeah. And then I'm also using a kneaded eraser. This is just an eraser that is malleable. It's kind of like Play-Doh, but it erases, and it's super, super, super cool and useful. I will also be using a tortillon to blend. This is just paper that's like rolled up, and it's helpful when blending. You can also use Q-tip, tissue paper, toilet paper, other paper, your finger, whatever you want to use. Okay, so let's just dive into it. To first start out, you want to create an almond shape. So it doesn't have to be perfect, just create an almond shape. And then depending on which side of the eye, like which eye you want to do, if you want to do left or right, just put a tear duct on either side. Now for the tear duct, I like to do it 1/4 or about 1/4 the size of the almond. So this would be like the size. So here this is how big it would be. So let me just erase the other lines I did. Now this doesn't have to be perfect since we won't be finalizing into like the very end. So you can just make a little other circle here or oval. So yeah, so this would be the left eye since the tear duct is on the left side. And then we can draw just a little, well, not little, but a circle. Now the circle isn't perfectly within the eye. It's more being covered by the eyelid like this. So that's what we're doing. So the upper eyelid is covering the top half, and then the lower eyelid is kind of covering the bottom part of the eye. Okay, and then let's make this smaller because it's really big. There you go. And then we can add like just a little line to the bottom, and then for the top eyelid crease, it kind of extends all the way, and it's half the height of the eye above this line. So it's like this thick. Does that make sense? I hope my teaching is okay. It's probably not, but oh well. So we're just going to use this as our foundation, and then we can kind of create an outline of what the eyebrows are going to look like. This is just a foundation of where my shadows and where my highlights are going to go when it comes to the under the brow skin. So after we do this, we can kind of create a darker outline around everything. And I will do this only on the parts where it would be the most darkest. So the darker parts would be the crease right here. So I'm going to darken that up. Currently I'm using the 4B, but maybe I should use, I'll switch over to the 2B. Okay, and then I'm going to darken up the upper eyelid, and then I'm going to draw a little bit softer when it gets around the corner over here, and then softer line on the bottom, and then define the iris. Okay, and then let's create a waterline. So what most people leave out when they're drawing eyes, they usually just draw like the almond shape and the iris, and then the eyebrow, and that's it. They leave everything else out. One thing that most people leave out is this waterline. So just maybe like, depending on how big you're drawing the eye, just a little bit underneath the bottom eyelid, draw a line underneath it and connect it over at the corner and bring the edge up a little bit to where it's showing, and then bring it into this line. So it should look I'm gonna like show like a magnified sketch of what it's going to look like. This is your eyeball, and then here's where your waterline goes in, and then here is where it fades into the upper line. Okay, so you can kind of create a small line down here, but don't worry about it. And then I'm just gonna fade it out with my kneaded eraser. Now, if you don't have a kneaded eraser, you can just use a regular eraser and erase lightly. That way it doesn't completely erase it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm erasing the lines so they're faintly there, but they're still there, so I can see, and I'm gonna use this as my foundation when I'm sketching. And I got rid of the entire eyebrow line, but who cares? What I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a foundation layer of shading. The reason why I'm doing this is because no skin color is completely like pure white. It always has some kind of tint to it, obviously. So since I'm drawing in pencil, it would be black and white, and there has to be some type of gray. So what I'm gonna do is with my lightest pencil, and if you're using just a regular pencil that you found, you're probably using an HB, which is perfect for this. You're going to draw, like you're going to hold your pencil more horizontally, and with the long part of it, you're going to add a light layer of foundation. Do not press hard. There's no need for that. You can just press really lightly, and if it seems like you're not adding anything, it's okay. You're still adding some. And then just add a layer of it. That's covering the entire eye. And then what you're going to want to do, actually I can use my finger for this, is blend it all out. Now, one thing about using fingers is that it's not completely accurate, and it kind of it mixes with your like body oils, so it's not usually the best tool. But when it's like big pieces, and if I don't have tissue paper on hand, I'm too late. I have some, but I'm too lazy to go get it. I just like using my fingers, and plus it adds texture. Okay, so now I'm going to define those lines again. Otra vez. Okay. Okay. And let's start with I guess we could start with the iris. Okay. So for the pupil is a hole in the iris, so it should be completely black. This should be your darkest point of your eye, depending on the lighting and everything as well, but usually I use this as the darkest point. So this can be completely filled with black. Now, depending on what type of material you're using or color or whatever, I just usually fill this completely with black. So I usually do a circle here in the middle of the iris, and then I draw in a shape of what my highlight's going to be. Now my highlights are coming in, like my light is coming in here, so my highlight would be more on the right side, because that's where the light is hitting the face. So I would just draw in like more of a highlight here, a bigger one, and I can get rid of this one, but I'm gonna leave it. Okay, and then we can add another layer of shading on the iris. I'm going to make this iris more darker, just to show you more of an exaggerated way of how I draw. Where's my... Hang on. Okay. So I'm going to define the pupil just so you guys can see how it's looking, because I don't know how it's looking on camera right now because I don't have one of those viewfinders. I'm using my 4B pencil to draw in a darker shade on over the pupil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add shading on top of the on the top half of the iris, because right now I'm defining the where the edge of where the iris touches the lid, but the reason I'm adding shading to the top half is because the lashes are casting a shadow on the eyeball. So you can add some light shading or dark, whatever you want to do. See, that already looks way better. Okay, and then with your 2B, your lightest pencil, you're going to add shading on the upper half of the white area. Now, rule of thumb, everyone should know this, is that the white of the eye is not white. It's always gray or blue or whatever kind of lighting you have, but it's never white. The only white you should ever have in your face should be, if it's like natural, like lighting, natural pose or whatever, should be the highlights. So highlights in the eyeball, highlights on the waterline, highlights in the tear duct, or highlights on the face if there's if you have oils on the face that are glistening, highlights on there, or if you have body paint or something, or I don't know. That should be pure white if you want it to be. And the whites of the eyes should be some type of tone, color, like anything. It should never be white, or not. It would look abnormal. Or if that's what you want to go for, go for it. Okay, so then we can start adding lines to here. Okay, please note this is just a foundation. We are not going into details right now, but this is just a rough sketch of what we're going for. Okay, let me fix this crease because I don't like it. There you go. Now I'm going to add more shading, more shadows to the eye. Okay, so since our light is coming in from here, our the highlights are going to be around here, here, somewhat here, not really, and then our shadows are going to be here, here, and then I guess here too. So we can do that just by adding another layer of shading. Let me go with my darker pencil, 4B. I haven't used 6B yet because I don't want to go into that. It can be completely rough. I just did a little shade, but it doesn't even cook. It's just random. Don't worry about it. A little shading here as well. And then shading right here above the crease. And then get your tortillon or whatever you want to use, and you can just shade, just blend. It does not have to be perfect right now because it's okay. Don't go crazy, just blend a little bit and then move on. Don't get caught up. All right, done. Doesn't look good, I don't care, we're fine. Okay, and then let's work on the crease. Okay, so the crease can be a little bit darker, but what we're going to do is we're going to add more shading to the crease itself, because the crease is made by harsh shadows. It should not be a perfect line that looks abnormal and doesn't look real. So I'm adding shading to the crease and also darkening it up. Well, yeah, duh. And then blending it out with a stump. And then just keep doing that, but as you're adding more shadows, make the shadows more thinner to make the crease appear more realistic. And then in the end, you can add just a fine line. Okay, now I'm going to add some shadows to the top lid, like this. Kind of like you're doing eyeliner, but just a little thin layer of shadowing, because your lid is not flat like paper, it's thick, so it should have some kind of shadow right here. And also it helps with making the lashes pop out. Kind of like that. Okay, and let me just blend out the whites of the eye. Okay. All right. Make your edges a little bit harsher on the eye. Just so it can pop out and stand out. Make sure we can define everything. Just like this. Right now, I don't know if you can tell, but my waterline and this area of the skin is way brighter than the white of my eye, and that looks weird. It should be the other way around. So I'm going to add a layer of shadow, just more shading. So I'm going to add another layer of shading on this part of the skin to make it darker so the white of the eye appears brighter. I'm blending it out. Don't get caught up with blending, just move on. All right, now the area of the white area of the eye looks way, way brighter. Okay, done. So we are going to define the iris. Okay, so remember how I added lines? So when we're adding lines, you can just do lines, line, line, line. Don't get caught up. Just do it more abstract. It should not be uniform. Do it messy. You can even make little speckles because everyone's eyes are different. Some people have speckles in their eyes, and that looks really pretty. Okay, and then for the edge of the iris, it should not be a harsh circle like this. It should be more of a blended edge like this because that looks more natural. And if you look closely, your edges of your iris kind of blend into the white of your eye. So it should not be a harsh line. It should be blended. Please, for the love of everything, blend out your iris's edges. It makes it look more realistic and softer and cuter, in my opinion. Okay, I'm going to blacken up that pupil because it's bothering the crap out of me. Also, it's to the right, if you can see. So I'm going to fix that by, let's make it bigger. Let's go for it. Now I'm just going to go crazy with the 6B pencil here and just darken up the pupil. And you can see that it takes out it like completely washes everything out, but will compensate with a lot more shading, a lot more everything. Now, right now I'm using my 6B, so I'm going to add a layer of shading on top here. And bring it down over here as well. And then make it a little bit darker because this is a little too crazy. Right now, I'm darkening up the top edges of the iris because it usually is because it holds more shadow. Does that make sense? Also, I don't know anything about anything, so don't ever think I'm a professional. Okay, I'm also darkening up the edges of the pupil because it's like the pupil kind of goes into the iris. I don't know how to explain it, but it's indented into it. Okay, so we're gonna add more shading on around more. We're gonna blend more around the edges. Oh my gosh, I cannot speak. I'm so sorry. Now I'm gonna blend more around the whites of the eyeball. I'm bringing this shading into the whites of the eye. Also, since this area is getting hit by the light, this area should be darker, so I'm going to add more blending around here. Just for continuity and stuff. Okay. And then let me add more shading onto the tear duct because she looks a little light. So for the tear duct, I usually divide into two sections. This section that's holding, onto the white. So I usually do a line here, and then one line that's like right here, diagonal. That's what I do, and then I blend them out because it should not be harsh. And then later we'll add a speck of highlight here. And then let's move on. Darkening up this line again because it always goes away. Okay, let's make this way better. Okay, let's add more shading onto the bottom lid because she's looking a little flat. So just by doing right here, and kind of go with the shape of the form. So when you're shading, so if you're shading a sphere, don't do flat, do a rounded shading. Does that make sense? Because and also when you're blending too, because it helps create form because of the direction of the application. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I'm explaining that well. Oh. Okay. Right now we're going to go in with our kneaded eraser around everything to make things pop. Okay. Let me add more shading onto here to make it look like it's like deep setted, and more onto here, onto the side. Let's leave the side alone for now. Okay, now get our kneaded eraser and erase a little bit of the water line because it should be popping out. Erase a little bit of the white of the eye to make it pop, and the highlight. And we can add a little bit of a highlight here. There you go. That's already making everything a little more defined. Let's define the upper crease. So you can add more shading here. And then just keep going to whatever suits your wants. Make it however you want to do it. It's your piece. I'm blending up to make this more round. I'm blending even where it's supposed to be light. There's always some kind of shading. And here I'm just like adding some shading just to show that it's part of something bigger. Wow, that was so poetic. Yeah, I'm just a poet sometimes. Okay, let me add some highlighter area here because it's way too dark. Okay. So now that we have our foundation, you can go in more with details. So I'm going to fix up the waterline. So this should be its own thing. Erasing here to make it look more realistic. I'm also erasing more here. She's a little dark. I'm also adding more shadows onto the upper lid to make it look more realistic. And right now, let's go in with the eyebrow. I don't want to do too much on the eyebrow because I feel like the eyebrow could be a separate video. If you guys want to do that, we could totally do that. Just let me know. But let me just show you like a quick tutorial on how to do the eyebrow. Oh, man, that's no mark. So for the eyebrow, I'm going to add a quick layer of shading for its basis. Bloop. Blend it out. blend it into this, like the skin, because it is part of the skin, this foundation. And then do that one more time. And then blend it out. Oh, I also did that. It's the second one. I did it with the darker pencil. All right, that'll be a foundation for our eyebrow, and then we'll draw in the hairs later. Okay, so let's define the entire freaking thing. So for the iris, you're going to want to draw more lines and then take some away by using your kneaded eraser or pencil. So, or eraser. So if you don't have a kneaded eraser, you can use a bigger, one of those pink erasers, big erasers. Anything with the edge is perfect. So your eraser on your regular pencil, school pencils, will be perfect. And now I'm just adding highlights into those lines to make it pop. Okay. Okay. And then you're going to want to add, like, add texture to the skin. The skin should not be completely smooth. And I'm doing this just by, like, adding a layer of shading that's not smooth. It's sporadic. There you go. And I'm adding it over pretty much everything, especially the darker areas. So with my 2B, you can sharpen your pencil, because I like it as sharp as possible all the time. It's actually such a bad habit. And then just with the point, I'm going to do it over everything. Not only the skin. That way it looks like it's gritty, like it has texture to it, like it's actual skin with pores and that's glistening. Because if it doesn't have it, it loses its that realistic quality. And when you see a drawing, you can always tell, like, oh, is that a drawing or a photo, if it has texture on the skin or not. And that's something that I had I had trouble getting onto that train, because I could not just add some freaking texture. I hated it. I don't know why. And as I grew older, I loved it. I love the texture. And then in the lighter areas, obviously just press lighter or go darker. Do whatever you want to do, you know? You could, here, where there's supposed to be creases, you can just add creases a little bit. I don't know what that was. Love that. And then let's make this the upper crease darker, because it's like so light. Let's draw in some quick hairs. Eyebrows, depending on what you do. If you're looking for a natural look, just sporadic, quick strokes, you're fine. define everything. Like, keep working at it until you find a stopping point that you think is perfect. I'm going to keep working on it and then come back to the lashes. Okay, so for the lashes, they're really simple, but you can get carried away um, if you overdo it, obviously. So for them, it's super simple. You draw down and flick up. It's something like, let me just show you. So draw down and then flick up, down and then up, down and up. So it's really simple, but some people forget to change directions, or they make them all the same. So to make them as realistic as possible, you want to change the direction like with every single one. So not always, it should not be like a pattern of lashes. It should be like kind of sporadic. So some are much smaller, thinner, and then others should be thicker. So right now I'm going to do a layer of just the thin ones. And then in the middle, they go up, but they also steer to the left and right. So they're not going up completely, like perfectly. And then the ones that are closer to the tear duct are the thinnest and smallest ones. So they're barely visible, but they're still there. And make sure you go into the whites and then like the eye part of the eyeball. So it shouldn't be completely up. It should go down, up. So like the lashes should be visible like within the white of the eyeball. All right, now that I've done this layer, I'll go in with my 6B, sharpen it up, and make the darkest lashes, and they should be a little bit longer. So I'll go that. Sometimes they clump together, which I think is so pretty. It's just an example of what it would look like if they had like a lot of lashes. And then for the bottom ones, I usually use the 2B, and I do the same thing, but obviously it's just upside down. And they are much thinner, and they're not as long. So just be gentle with them. Don't make them as long as the other one, or not. It just, you get like some spider vibes going on, and we don't want that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know what else you guys would like to see me draw. Anything that you guys would like a tutorial on. But I'm hoping I can start doing more tutorials, since I've never really do that. I just thought doing an eyes like the first one would be a good like breaking into that. So yeah, let me know what else you guys would want to see. And yeah, thank you for watching.